edition of The Other Perspective. Today we are going to be discussing about politics or policy, what informed the parish development model in Uganda. First of all, today is a public holiday in Uganda where we are celebrating the life of Janan Luum, who was with the Catholic Archbishop of Church of Uganda from 1974 to 1977, and one of the most influential leaders of the modern church in Africa. He was arrested in February 1977 and died shortly after, although the official accounts described his death to a car crash. It's generally accepted that he was murdered on the orders of the then President Idi Amin Dada. So back to our main discussion today on policy or politics, what informed the parish development model. We do know that on the 26th February 2022, President Yoweri Museveni will launch the parish development model at Chimbuku district. This will pave way for the injection of over 180 billion shillings into the 10,595 parishes of Uganda. It is our understanding that this intervention will eradicate poverty from households. The parish development model is the most recent vehicle government plans to use for accelerating wealth and job creation and improving service delivery at the parish level. Its objective is to take government to the people so that the incomes of the ordinary Ugandans can improve. If incomes improve, automatically people's livelihood will be better. The parish development model will be implemented over a period of 5 years. The parish development model is anchored on 7 pillars. The first being production, storage, processing, and marketing. Then the second is on infrastructure and economic services. The third is on financial inclusion. The fourth is on social services. Fifth comes community mobilization and mindset change. Then we also have the sixth being data collection in terms of parish-based management and information systems. And then we have the seventh being governance and administration. The parish development model is not the first poverty eradication program that a national resistance movement government will be launching. There are a number of other initiatives that have been delivered before at national level, which include the Ntandikwa Prosperity for All Youth Livelihood Program, Uganda Women Empowerment Program, Operation Wealth Creation, and Emioga. So today we shall be joined by a panel of 3 distinguished guests. We have Mr. Henry Muguzi, who is an expert in the field of electoral democracy and also a passionate Ugandan who wants to see that the lives of Ugandans are really improved and not just we don't use politics to politicize everything. Welcome, Henry.
Thank you, Abel, and to our viewers, wherever you are joining us from, it's a pleasure to be interacting with you today. And let's try to see whether we can chat a better way forward for our country and Africa in general. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry. We shall also be joined by Priska Wanyenya, who is a journalist who reports from Parliament, and she's also a passionate Ugandan who wants to see that the lives of Ugandans are improved, and she's an activist who also fights for social justice and economic rights. Welcome, Priska.
Thank you, Abel. Good morning to our viewers and listeners. I'm glad to join you today again to still learn from you. I look forward to the day.
You're welcome, Priska. And then lastly, we shall have a youthful Mr. Gerald Koraneza, who is a youth activist in politics and also is passionate about issues concerning poverty eradication. I do remember he told me that he wrote even a thesis on issues concerning poverty eradication. So I know you will be sharing with us some of the things he wrote on, especially on operations wealth creation during his undergraduate time at campus. So I will start straight away with Mr. Henry. The parish development model will be launched on the 26th of February 2022 at Chibuku district. What do you think informed the parish development model? Was it based on policy or was it based on politics?
Yeah, thank you very much, Abel. And once again, greetings to all of us that are, all our viewers and listeners who are joining us from wherever they are. The parish development model, for those of you that are hearing about this word for the first time, is a strategy government of Uganda has coined for organizing and delivering public and private sector interventions for wealth creation. You remember, for a long time, we've been grappling with the wealth creation. And of course, the desire of government has always been to take Uganda to middle income status. And so the parish development model is marketed as this intervention that's going to create wealth, but also generate employment for the young people at the parish level. And the parish is being considered as the lowest economic planning unit. Now, when you review the National Development Plan, I think the National Development Plan 3, it has also adopted the parish development model as a strategy for rural social.
I think we have lost Henry, and I want now to bring on Priska. Priska, you report from Parliament and you've seen that this parish development model will be launched on the 26th, and you've seen there have been issues concerning whether this model will succeed or not. On what Henry was submitting, can you supplement on whether was this parish development model thought informed by policy, or it's also another political thing that is being fronted?
Okay, thanks, Abel. So when this parish development model was brought, I think last year, the argument, and it was drawn up by the current secretary to the Treasury, Ramadan Gobi, when he was still at MOVS. He sold the idea to the president. I think they bought it. So some people think that it's probably one of the reasons as to why that the president made his eye that he got to have the job. So according to government, when there is a time we met with Ramadan Gobi at Africana as journalist to cover Parliament, and he told us that the reason as to why they came up with the parish development model is that for a long time resources have been centered around the central government and leaving very little resources to the local government. And the argument was people in the central government sit in the ministries in Kampala and plan for someone probably in Chanamkaka, a parish, and they have no idea of what the needs are for the people in. I'm giving an example of Chanamkaka or any other rural place. So to them, they think that if the parish development model is brought, the people at the parishes will be in position to come up with a decision and priorities of what their districts want or their parish wants. Is it a school? Is it a health center? Not this argument of the central government planning and imposing their priorities on them. So that was the essence about the parish development model. Yesterday, during the plenary sitting, the Minister of Local Government, Raphael Majezi, formally tabled a statement as per the rules of Parliament and informing them about the impending launch in Chibuku district. And he gave Parliament a briefing on how far government has gone with the implementation of parish development model. And from what I read from his statement, He said they are in the process of now recruiting the 53, 500 and 5,000 and 3,000 parish chiefs who are going to oversee the parish development model. And the parish development model has been something that has been discussed in Parliament with both by the opposition and the civil society group. And one of the contentious issues at the moment is last year they had planned to merge all the wealth creation programs into one, the youth livelihood, UWEP and everything. But usually the women fought so hard because they say that their UWEP is doing well, so the government had to abandon. But when you see the National Budget Framework paper, they have come up with that plan again to merge the resources of UWEP, NADS, UCDA, the Coffee Development Authority, Luwero and Renzori Triangle. All the resources they are planning to combine them to put them in the parish development model. And I still expect a fight from the women when it comes to their UWEP, and not coming off as someone who is a woman, but I tend to think that when you look at the wealth creation programs that have come up, the UWEP is doing quite well. And when I looked at the Auditor General's report that she launched, that she unveiled, I think last month or this month, he noted that so far within the 5 years, UWEP has been in position to disperse about 107 billion, and right now the women have been in position to pay back money, and 16 billion shillings is sitting on the Bank of Uganda account that has not been yet dispersed. So and she has not yet been dispersed for other women to benefit. But this is the money that the other women did what? Paid back after they got. It's the revolving fund. So I expect there is going to be a fight, especially merging UWEP with a parish development model. And so when you look at some of the people who are doubting the efficacy of the parish development model, because they look at creating revolving funds and part of the initiatives. And when you look, so when the Auditor General already points out that there are some wealth creation programs that are ongoing, people have already paid back money, but government is yet to disperse the money to other people. So it gives you a glimpse of some of the challenges that the parish development model is going to face. We have to give them time, because it is going to be one of the biggest tests for the Secretary of the Treasury, because he is the father of the parish development model, and now he is in charge to implement it. So we will really have no excuse when probably the program fails in future, because you brought it and now you have been brought to implement it. So I look forward to how this whole program is going to work up. But that is basically the policy around the parish development model. And one of the contentious issues that were raised is the money that community mobilization and mindset change, because they have allocated about 64 billion shillings that government is going to go out there and tell the community that we are going to bring you this money, but it's not for eating. So they want to use this 64 billion to ensure that they don't repeat the mistakes they made with probably the youth livelihood, where we saw stories where the youth got the money and went to marry the second wife or things like that. So they want to use this 64 billion, the coming financial year, to sensitize Ugandans that when this money comes, please don't marry a second wife, don't buy a mattress, things like that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Priska. Henry, before, I think you had network issues when you're still submitting, so I wanted to give us your opinion on what you're still giving us, and then I would proceed with Gerard.
Absolutely, Abel. Of course, at the time I went off because of the funny technology we have here and a very unreliable internet that the country is getting, I was trying to paint a picture of what the parish development model is to that listener or viewer that is interacting with this for the very first time. But I'm sure that Priska has done justice to it, and therefore I'm not going to go back there. But to the question of whether it was informed by politics or policy, we know very well that the first pronouncement of the parish development model was done when the president was on his campaign trail. And therefore, like many others, it has not been backed by policy. And when we say policy, I think it's important we explain. Normally, in management of state affairs, national affairs, when a government realizes a problem, they will have to understand what the problem is. In other words, they will do what you can call a diagnosis. A diagnosis, in which case they send out a team of experts to go to the grassroots and understand what the problem is. Because you might think the problem, you might think the patient is feeling feverish and has temperature, and think the patient has malaria, only to discover that it is actually not malaria. It is actually infections. And therefore, then the dosage you are going to administer will be changed. Instead of Coartem, you are going to have to give penicillin. So the same here in understanding societal problems. Government sends a team to understand what the problem is, what is its causes, because sometimes what you might think is the problem may not actually be the problem. The problem, what we could be seeing as a problem, could just be a symptom. So government would ordinarily send a team to carry out what they call policy analysis, and there's a whole due process that has to be followed. That also requires participation of those that are affected, but also those that have a say or have seen it before. And therefore, when this has been done, then the government will develop something they call a policy of government. So the policy has analyzed the problem, prescribed the medicine, but also the analysis to the problem has been informed by a number of stakeholders. Now, after the policy is in place, then you can go ahead and draft a law to operationalize what is happening now. With Operation Wealth Creation, we have a law that is operationalizing it, but we do not have a policy that informs whether or not we are actually addressing the problem. Okay? You see, a good law has to be informed by a policy. But for the longest time, all the interventions of government we have had have been informed by politics. Whether it was the universal primary education, whether it was the Bonaba Gagawale, whether it was Youth Livelihood Fund, whether it was Ntandikwa, all of these start as political pronouncements, and then the technocracy is put to task to develop laws that would operationalize these political interventions. Which is why you will not be surprised to find that many of them have not worked. And the reason they have not worked is that there's not been enough time to understand what the problem is. So we have prescribed medicine for malaria when the patient is actually suffering from infections. No wonder we up to today, we are still talking about getting people out of poverty, but there have been a plethora of interventions. And therefore, I want to argue that the parish development model, for us, even when they have anchored it into the National Development Plan 3 as a strategy for rural and economic transformation, without a policy that informs it, it cannot be fully implemented. It will not be able to address the real problem on the ground. And as we get to interrogate it further, we are going to see that some of the deficits, some of the negativities we're already seeing could be a creature of there not being a policy. And therefore, as I return this back to you, Abel, I want to argue that the parish development model is a very good strategy. But this strategy, because it has not been informed by policy, it might suffer from failure to understand the real problem on the ground. Because is the problem on the ground lack of money? Is the problem on the ground mindset? Is the problem on the ground lack of mobilization? Is the problem on the ground lack of awareness? What is the problem on the ground that they're trying to address? Because for the longest time, every time this government has seen a problem on the ground, we have seen them throw money to the problem. So they have, over time, developed a tendency of just throwing money at problems. But you see, when you just throw money at problems, even a hungry dog, if you just throw meat to eat without it being made ready, it might just run before not thinking it is a stone. So I think we needed to have a policy in place that has taken enough time to analyze the problem. Where is the problem? Why is it that many of the people of Uganda are not in the market 36 years down the road? Is it that they don't want to be in the market? Or is it that there is something else stopping them from being in the market? Is that something stopping them from being in the market in money? Or there are other factors? Are they social? Are they economic? Are they religious? Are they cultural? So I think we needed to take off time to understand the real problem on the ground before we diagnosed the medicine as a parish development model. Back to you, Abel.
Thank you so much, Henry. Gerald, I've just heard Henry giving his submission, and is more of a view that the parish development model was informed more by politics than policy. So, and you have ever done a research on issues concerning poverty eradication in Uganda, and I want to know from you, when it comes to intervention such of this or poverty eradication of this nature, do you think this government has learned anything and forgotten anything before? You're muted.
Thank you so much, Abel, for that very great question. And I want to say that there is nothing that is apolitical in the public policy. I mean, there is always a primacy of politics in every other public policy. I would agree with Henry to some extent that there is a lot of politicization, of course, in the parish development model to some extent. But as you've put it, as a person who has done at undergraduate, one of a poverty eradication program, that is Operation Wealth Creation, we could see agricultural inputs being procured at the national level, and you find they are taking inputs to people at the grassroots level. So we didn't see the element of participation or giving people their say or looking at what's the need that they do want, rather than we could see government imposing like inputs to the people. Back to your question that you asked, whether parish development model was informed by either politics or policy. Parish development model, through their framework, which they showed to us, their guiding implementation, they say that it was informed by National Development Plan 1 and 2, where they saw a need of bringing services closer to the people. They argue that they want to bring government to the people, where the people, they will at least have the say when it comes to democratic control on decision making on their welfare. So in my own opinion, I think the government has learned something from the previous programs, like for instance, Operation Welfare Creation. When I see government budgeting, allocating like 180 billion, that is going to 10,595 village parishes, where at least each parish is expected to get 17 million. You know, at the parish level, there is that committee, the Parish Development Committee, that is being chaired, I think, by the parish chief. It is comprised of, I think, 9 members, where the LC3 chairperson is the lead person. It is also playing a critical role. Then there is also elements of the civil society actors. Then representation of LCs, the LC1. I think the mobilization effort or earmarking like this 64 billion for mobilization and changing the mindset. Now the government needs to do a lot to sensitize the people, the population, on the planning matters, how they should utilize this fund, how they should be able to utilize this fund to improve the incomes and the welfare of the citizens. So in my own opinion, government taking the planning, the decision making, the participation to the lowest administrative unit. It is a very good move. But what we need a very good political will. We need to see political will. We need to see government full supporting, other than leaving now everything to these hungry lower administrative units. There is a problem that is emanating. Now the parish development committees, some of them, they are too excited. They are saying that it is the national level that has been eating. Now it is their turn to eat. So the government needs to assure the people the commitment. It needs to give the commitment. It gives a political will to ensure people's participation, mobilization strategies, education, all of those activities that, mobilizing the youth, all those kinds of elements that they give information to the wananchi on the ground to fully participate, to see whether we can yield in, like this very success, these income and welfare, transforming people from subsistence to monetary economy. So we need a full political will from the government. That is my take.
Thank you, Gerald. Henry, I will now bring you. We don't know that back in the day there was the Poverty Eradication Action Plan. It was implemented for over 10 years, but poverty remained elusive. What did Pete get wrong that the parish development model will get right? Do you think will get right?
Thank you, Abel. And because that's quite an interesting question. I've been reviewing some documents here, and I discovered that actually the Local Government Act provides for the parish as a planning unit of government, and Section 47 of the Act provides an 11-member parish executive committee. Now, so you get to see that, okay, in the laws, it's anchored. Okay, but again, the policy framework, the overarching policy framework guiding it, other than the national development plan, because the national development plan is a what's it called? An amalgam of a number of interventions. The PDM model, parish development model, needed its own policy. But back to your question, we had the poverty eradication action plan. I think it was flagged at a time as one of the major documents that ever came out of a third world country. I remember the World Bank and IMF, were flagging this as a model that other countries could copy. But 10 years down the road, poverty remained elusive, as you have stated. The question is, what did we get wrong? My take is that perhaps the people did not understand the root causes of poverty at the time. And therefore, they tended to prescribe a medicine that could not address the type of the bug or bacteria that Ugandans were suffering from, which is why you see that 10 years afterwards, an evaluation is conducted and the questions are still being asked. What has changed? As a matter of fact, nothing changed then. So, but I hope there were certain lessons that were picked, which should inform the parish development model. Now, one of the things that I think that undermined and militated against the success of people was that the people had not been prepared. There was a mindset problem. People still believed. First of all, people had not been helped to liberate themselves and graduate from the days of running around to the days of moving forward. But the one thing that the people did was to inculcate a feeling that if you work hard, you can improve your income. So fast forward today, we are seeing that quite the number of Ugandans that are in the market has increased, although not to the level that we want. So those are some of the lessons I think that the PDM model should borrow, that before you roll out anything, it's important you first work on the mindsets, because poverty begins in one's head. There is no amount of money you can throw around that can eradicate poverty. But I think the other thing that militated against the success of PIP was corruption. And therefore, it's a lesson we carry forward. How do we make sure, like Gerard said, those who are saying it is our time to eat, that national level has been eating for 36 years. Now parish level must now also eat. This is their time to eat. I think that is going to be the problem, the biggest bottleneck that this intervention is going to face. But overall, I think I should also send my plaudits to government for having finally targeted the parish, because that is where the rubber touches the ground. The question is, what monitoring mechanism is going to be there? I was looking at how the model is going to run, where they're proposing that there will be parish chiefs and LC2 chairpersons. Okay, so this LC2 chairperson, at the time of electing them into office, I think about 4 years back, we did not know that they will have a role to play in the parish development model. And therefore, the people we elected into office may not necessarily have the skills that will gel with those of the parish chief in order to propel this intervention forward. I would also see that quite a number of the people we elected into office at the time spent a lot of money. Never mind that the level was low, but LC1s and LC2s spent a lot of money to be elected into those offices, and they have never recouped that money. I can already sense a feeling that these men and women who are occupying these LC2 offices as chairpersons are already, whetting their, appetites to make sure that finally the avenue to recoup them on their investment has come. Back to you, Abel.
Thank you. We are going to go for a brief break, then we shall return